Hello, welcome to my channel. It's good to have you here. My name is Gemma. I am a criminologist and a mother. And today I'd like to digress race and religion. So, race and religion, interesting topics. Very interesting topics for now, because there's a lot of stuff that's come out about it that sort of really needs to be more understood than anything. So, we're at Binar. So, or is it that way? Who cares? Right. So, race and religion. So, let's underpin this kind of narrative that's going on right now. So, let's go a little bit back. 2020 was it? When they were doing Black Lives Matter, right? So, yeah, I agree. Black Lives Matter. What it did was it was a gauge, and I don't know how long I've got on this one, but let's go for it. We're going straight in. It was a gauge. Okay, it's interesting. Yeah, it was a gauge to fit a narrative at the time, and it kind of was to set a scene. Now, it was good that we were accepting this and bringing it out, and so that we understood that people in the police and stuff like this, and people in the the positions of power really understood that you can't just go around victimizing people who have who have black skin or whatever for no reason. You can't do that. And that's kind of like what the face of it was. Okay, so we have to understand that obviously there was a good cause, right? There was. So I'm not a racist, okay? So I'm going to come to you like with an aspect of understanding, because I can, because I'm not a racist. So this is, what happened. People paid a lot of money to make this happen. So in some areas it was good, it promoted an aspect of the black community with a gauge to change political affairs. And this was done through campaigning. So there was good things that could come from this experience, understanding these, people who have experienced racism, okay, because that happens. And so it's one of the supposedly it's a disadvantage in society, but it's not a disadvantage to be that, though. As a self-governing body, it's not. You're not bad for being a different colour. There's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. Black is beautiful. Okay, so I liked the idea of this, but it didn't feel good to me because there was almost like it got really almost entwined between black versus white, and it weren't supposed to be like that. And I do think that's what happened a little bit. It was kind of more, it became a superiority complex. And I'm not racist, I'm just saying this is what it looked like at certain times. But because we're all equal, just because we've got different skin. Like, I won't sit here and say I'm superior to anyone who has against anybody else, because my skin's translucent. You can see my veins and everything. You can see everything. It's very translucent. So obviously it's beautiful. It's a beautiful colour, being black. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying that there was kind of it became a bit of a superiority thing, where I'll get into in a minute. But it's almost like this is where they want us to go with it, because there's an extreme, isn't there, to everything. So just keep that in mind before you start kicking off on one, because I'm understanding this from all spectrums. So then we've got religion. Now, what's going on with religion? So I think there was something in a political movement recently about Christianity, and then there was something else as well. I think this is in the UK, about anti-Semitic, and using it as a Muslim, like all Muslims and stuff, it's classed as anti-Semitic now. So if you're against Muslim, that's a form of hate crime again. So this is why I'm merging it together. So this is like what we're in 2024. So 4 years later, they're starting to like underpin that you can't be racist against the Muslims, and it's a form of anti-Semitic, which is true. You know, it can't be just for one religion or underpinning. So the Jewish have always had this anti-Semitic due to the Holocaust, right? Due to the exiles that are taking place, okay? But funny enough, it's coming now. Why now? Why didn't it happen 3 years ago when they was doing Black Lives Matter? Because it'll entwine with that. Anyway, this is why I'm getting to it. Because the reality is that everything's set as a gauge and narrative at a time. And it's political movements, and they can be used to tug at heartstrings on people to, change your mind about certain things, or if you're in it, you kind of go with it type thing. So it's about how you feel about the situation at the time, because you can just sort of like be washed with the tide, if you like. But if you stand back and you observe it, and then you look and you think, why are they proposing this now? Why are they proposing that it's anti-Semitic to be against Muslims, which is true, right? It should be a form of that. I guess everybody has a right to religion, to find their faith, okay? So this is something that I've spoken about in my videos. You should believe what you want to believe in, and ultimately, there should be a form of protection there for you. And that's kind of paramount. So when we understand things like how the gauge and narrative is being set, it kind of changes my mind on why they're doing this. Why is this because of the Black Lives Matter and how there was so much violence against white people, because it started to rise, didn't it? So are they doing it to combat violence, or are they doing it to create it? It seems to me like they want to combat it in initial, observations to change the law and stuff like this. So yeah, it does. So, but at the same time, what it does is it creates a narrative to fight, because there's a level playing field, right? What they do is, I'm just gonna be honest, it's not a disadvantage, is it? To be a different colour. We know this. It's not an disadvantage to have a different faith, is it? It's just a different faith. It's just a different understanding. It's come from a different place. So I can understand the Muslim tradition, I can understand the Jewish one, I can understand the Christian one, I can understand an aspect of Satanism as well. So I can understand these different things. So it's almost like a level in the playing field, which is great. But at the same time, it's almost like a balance out. So it's almost like there could be positions that grow in the future of fighting in cultures over it. So we might end up going back, in under aspects of like, they might want us to fight about religion and race. So it's almost like the Rwandans who have to go back after like 30 years of being here. They've been told they're allowed to stay, and then all of a sudden they put a new policy to tell them they've got to leave. So, it doesn't work, because it kind of it's against a human right, but they've still okayed that. So they're removing people who have lived here, go back to their own country, and they might be, disadvantaged there, which they are. That's why they're here in the first place. But then yet they're accepting, a Muslim community. They're accepting, which I'm not saying that is wrong, I'm just saying that they're accepting other things, but they're not accepting all of it. So there's still aspects of like Rwanda because they're black. So it's an acceptance of reverting back from a Black Lives Matter concept, and it's reverting back into an acceptance of Muslims. So it's kind of like it was working, but then it stopped. There was a political agenda to take place, but then it went back onto itself, and we understand now that the political agenda is to accept anti-Semitic as being against Muslims. Okay, so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just arguing politics with you all. So we have fractions in society where we can move towards it and then move away from it. So it's almost like there's ideas that are thrown around, but then nothing really seems to change. So you can see how nothing might change from these political movements, and everything seems to stay the same. Or there might just be more of a narrative to push against white people, and they're using the other religions to push up that narrative so they can pick on the white people again, type thing. But they're also taking Rwandans back to their country, their own. Well, it's their original homeland. But is that kind of legal? Is that not against someone's human rights? You've accepted them to stay. Why are you changing it under a policy? It doesn't make any sense. So that Black Lives Matter was, what was it for type thing? Was it a sense of false sense of security? And you've got Sunak doing it, and he's half Sikh, isn't he? Indian. So I'm pretty sure it's an aspect of racism right there, isn't it? But telling Rwandans to go back, that's a form of racism. Because why are they doing it? What's their reason? There isn't one. There isn't a reason to do that. So, what's the point in doing Black Lives Matter if that's going to happen? And you've got an Indian Prime Minister doing it. Half Indian. Right? Just an example. I'm not going for him, just being obviously honest. Right? He's a yes man. Right? So, we have to understand that the disadvantages within society can be seen. And it's race, age, gender, it's sex, and it's disability, right? It's almost like they're actually picking on these from a societal concept. They're picking on us on those ways. And I kind of see that. And it's really obvious now. And, you got gender and they're fluid. You got sex and they're sexism against women. Ageism, against kids. Poverty lines and all that. Being able to take children away from mums if they're under a certain poverty line. I think it said something in there. That was a new law that was passed in 2024, January. You have racism where you got Rwandians going back. And then you have religion where they're saying that you can't be, we can't be, you can't be anti-Semitic towards the Muslims. Okay, so I don't know where that's going to go in the future, but it's an acceptance of that religion, which is, you should be, because it's all connected, and there should be spaces for people to worship if they want to worship. Okay, so I believe that. I do think that's right. But what we've got to do now is sort of like bring it together, because this is like religion and race, and I'm just going into all the others, but just little bits. But we have to understand is that for Rwandians, they've had kids and stuff. What are they going to do? Take them back with them? Or they stay here? It's a blurred line. So we have to really figure out now what is actually going on here. Because it's almost like they're picking on people under guises of disadvantages, which is apparently obvious, because I studied this in social history and social justice in, I think it was first year. This is kind of like the stuff that we were taught. And we was taught this. It was so obvious. So, kind of rocking the boat a bit. Not stopping the boats, but rocking the boats. But it's just kind of like, what is the reason for all this? Is society being attacked? So it's not really apparent now, because they're setting in the policies 2024, setting in all the policies for it. So it kind of gives leeway for them to take advantage of children, race, which children will be age, but also what else they're doing. I can't really go into that, but I'll go into it another time. But there's religion. When it pertains to religion, there is an acceptance of Judaism, but it's not as big as what it was for Muslims. They're in a synagogue everywhere. There's only some in some cities, in the cities. So it's not like where a church, every village has a church, so it's kind of like a base of a religion in the UK. So that really it was the Christian church. That's the basis of our religion. I think they said it was Norse mythology, Norse religion was the first one. We've got one here. So, there are different ones, but when there was a case of anti-Semitic against the Jewish community, it was really because of the Holocaust that took place. And I think that had something to do with France, didn't it? The concentration camps, I think it was something to do with France was involved in that. Pretty sure of it. Not gonna lie. So, I think that was a race thing, wasn't it? Against white people with blue eyes and blonde hair. Oops. So it kind of sort of bleeds all into itself when you think how the narratives are changing through society and maybe the reasons why. And so there might be a really big conversion that takes place in the UK with the Muslim religion, and I can see that happening. But it's an acceptance. Like London had Happy Ramadan on the streets, they're fasting and stuff like that. It just goes to show that there's a place for them, right? And it should be accepted. But then in the next breath, you've got them kicking out Rwandians who've been here for 30 years. Don't make sense. It goes against their human rights. The government seems very irrational for doing that. I think it's unpredictable. The government is acting all unpredictable. I think, like I said, you've got a yes man in there, just doing whatever they want him to do for 100 grand a year. And it's kind of like, is that, isn't it? What's going to happen in the next couple of years? Is it going to be another Holocaust? It better not be. Or is it happening now? But in a different way? Was it all really just setting in false senses and narratives? Because the whole world stopped, hasn't it? putting lad out of houses. That's some serious, like, some serious stuff. They made us stop for like a year and a half, apart from key workers. That's some serious stuff that happened right there. So you got to think now, like, what are they actually planning on doing? You know? I think I heard about an agenda that was going to take place, the 2030 agenda or something like that. I heard about it. I haven't proper read into it, but there's going to be a policy going around about a 2030 agenda. I think it's in government and it's being like assessed, but I haven't heard anything about it. I should really look into it, actually. This might finish my conclusions, you know, but finalise a conclusion to what's going on in society right now. But it's very unpredictable. You know, you've got them picking and choosing. It's almost like they want us to fight each other. I can feel that. They want us to fight each other for some reason. And, you know, I'm not really a fighting type person. I'm a complete opposite. I'm different. I don't like fighting. You know, I'm not a fighter. I've never been done for fighting. I've never, you know, never been in trouble for fighting. No, I never had a criminal record till recently. You know, I've never really had that. You know. So I'm just going to give that to you as well, like, just so you can sort of understand where I'm coming from. Because it's very unpredictable what's happening. And, you know, I think there's a lot of other things going on. But regarding religion, and let's stick to religion and race. So I think race is something that should be widely, it's just an acceptance, isn't it? Or why we're just going back and forward and back and forward. It's almost like, if you look at the top, it's almost like they're the strings that they're playing with disadvantages in our society. And it's just like, why are they doing that? It's not what we want as people, you know. This is our society. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for us needing some sort of boundaries and some sort of structure in our society, in that concept, then why is it what's happening? You know, if we can understand that, we don't because you're meant to be working for the people, aren't you? So the policies that are created, they're meant to be for the people. So what's happening? Why isn't it happening for the people? It's almost like they're picking on people, select groups of people, slowly bringing stuff in. Well, what is it for? Dominance? You already have dominance. You already have it. What's the point in trying to control it anymore? This is an underpinning aspect of how you've broken the tree in a societal concept, because you're not showing support. You smashed your tree. Society as a whole smashed its tree, and it's kind of like there's no love, there's no support and love